Ladies and gentlemen, I was going to say, you wanted the best. You got the best. The hottest drummer in Santa Clarita. Ladies and gentlemen, my dear friend, Nate Morton. Thank you for being here, buddy.
It is my pleasure. Kevin Metal. How are you?
I'm so good, man. I miss you.
I miss you, kiddo.
Should I have introduced you as the world's okayest drummer, or?
I mean, I think it's fairly obvious. It's all good. I took care of that myself.
You wear your label?
We're good. I chose proper attire for the occasion.
Oh, man. God, look at that smile, dude. It's been too long. You know what, though? I've seen you more recently than most of my other homies down there. You came out just to hang out for a quick moment before our show at Microsoft, Valentine's Day weekend. It's a little romantic hang with you and me.
Was that Valentine's Day?
It was the day after, 15th.
Because, I mean, it seems like that was the last time that I was actually out doing anything social. I mean, I realized things didn't come to a screeching, grinding halt here in LA until maybe 2 or 3 weeks after that.
Right.
Maybe 3 weeks or so after that. But I think that's the last time that I was actually out socially. Oh, my God, Kevin. I've forgotten something extremely important.
Okay.
Excuse me. I'll be right back.
Okay. Awesome. You guys, when he's back. Oh, there we go. Oh, do you have an endorsement with this? Do you have an endorsement with that drink company?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, Rockstar, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. You know what?
If anybody out there from Rockstar wants to endorse a drummer,
there's got to be
a
distribution out here, because you've been drinking Rockstars heavily for a long time.
Too long. It's bad. It's bad. In fact, the things that I most frequently consume are Rockstars, lemon ginger shots with cayenne,
yum,
evergreen juices, like an all green juice, and vodka. And
all together?
Well, that was the suggestion. The suggestion was made that I should just concoct a what do you call it? What do you call the things that the guys sell off the back of trucks? Elixir. I should concoct an elixir of that.
At this point right now, I would think a lot of people would be all on board with that. You know, if the Rockstar cats are out there listening, this may be the next angle, right? Because they're combining energy drinks and alcohol. So maybe
it's funny. They're outlawed in Australia.
Oh, energy.
They're outlawed. I believe that's what it was. It's like super highly caffeinated, alcoholic beverages.
Oh, well, it's kind of a weird combo, right? Because alcohol's a depressant, right? And then you've got
True. Well, I mean, I just think it's funny that it would basically get you like really like jacked up to do something while at the same time lowering your inhibitions.
Right. Oh, God. Wow.
Hence, they're outlawed in Australia.
That's probably a good reason. You know, not that long ago, buddy, before I made a lifestyle change, you and I probably lost a lot of inhibitions and had a lot of caffeinated
and brain cells.
Yes. Oh my God. We've got some of those stories we could share if you want to. Would that get you in trouble at all? Like some of the stuff that we did?
I mean, I don't remember a lot of the stuff that we did. So
I know most of them.
I have plausible deniability.
One thing that people that don't see you on TV all the time might not know is that you've got a passion for souped up Subaru WRXs and Subis, right?
Well, I enjoy sports cars.
Right. Yeah.
I enjoy sports cars, and my current car is a STI. Yeah, a WRX STI.
The STI.
But I haven't done anything to this one. The last one, the 04, I went crazy. I did like bigger turbo, did the exhaust, the intake, short throw shifter, piggyback CPU or ECU, and just and eventually it exploded. So taking it a little easier. I'm being a little more old man with the current one.
Oh, Family Guy, the family truckster.
For now.
You and Caleb will actually have to have a conversation. He's been souping up. He's got an Audi A4 that he's wrapping in satin purple. It's very Laker-like.
Right on.
But he's dialed it up. It's
Is it going to be all show, or is it going to be some go as well?
Oh, it's got go. Yeah, it's ramped up way more than it should be. A mechanic friend of mine, Adam, thank you very much, said, if you go any farther than this, you're going to drop the bottom end out. So anyway, it's fun.
And that's the thing. You can't do, I mean, we're musicians, and here we are talking about cars. And, mods and so on. But yeah, I had an Eagle Talon turbo, and you definitely have to be careful. You can't just do a bigger turbo. Yeah. Otherwise, the car will run super lean and you'll, detonate the engine. You can't just, so it's like if you're going to do a bigger turbo, then it's like, okay, now I have to do the injectors. Okay, now I have to,
Yep. So it's all in.
It's a slippery slope.
The only reason I even brought it up, that STI that we drove rocked my world, man. I remember driving. Oh my God. It was
the
a power.
Go-kart.
It was, it was. We drove it way too fast all over LA.
It was a go-kart.
When you let me drive it, I was sober by that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because before that.
Yeah. You were terrified?
No. Before that, when you and I would drag race up Sunset, that was before, that was my drinking days. And I don't feel,
dear.
I'm not really happy about that, honestly.
Okay. Well,
I'm not proud of it, but it's a memory that I have, that
you lived to tell, and you escaped without bodily injury or bodily injuring anyone else.
That's the thing. So, it's not just me, right? Yeah, everybody else is safe. We left some skid marks in and all around Sunset.
Well,
right?
Those have to go. Definitely go.
I wasn't going there. Okay. So we're done with cars. We're done with no, we're probably not done with like party stories, but show people your slippers. These are pretty funky. Check out Nate's.
So Kev, I've been in my house.
Yeah, we're quarantined.
In my house, I've been recording drums.
Yeah.
We instituted like a no shoes in the house thing.
Okay.
So my new preferred drum shoe is that.
Oh man.
That's my new preferred drum shoe now.
Oh yeah. You know what? If basketball doesn't come back.
Yes.
I think.
Don't say that.
When basketball comes back.
Thank you.
I think the Lakers should all wear those.
Because you don't want them to win a championship.
You think it's going to happen?
You mean on the floor?
Sure. Yeah. Let's see how much jump these guys have with slippers on. This would be good.
So on that, every now and then, like there's one shoe. Well, there's probably more than one, but there's one shoe in particular. I'm just seeing how random I can possibly get.
That's how we are.
There's one shoe in particular that I cannot wear. Like I said, there's probably more than one, but one shoe in particular that I cannot wear. I cannot wear a Converse Chuck Taylor tennis shoe. I can't do it. It's too flat.
Yeah.
I put them on, and if I take 10 steps, my dogs are barking.
Yeah.
Whenever, like on occasion, I've had to wear them for maybe like a look or something like that. And every time I put them on, it amazes me that guys used to run up and down a floor for 48 minutes wearing those things. I can't believe it. I cannot believe that was the athletic shoe of choice. It's shocking.
You know what?
This slipper would be better than that.
That's true. Yeah, there's no jump. The new Chucks have padding in them, so they're a lot more comfortable, But anyway.
It's also not if I'm honest, it's also not a shoe that looks good on me because I'm short and I'm shrinking, by the way. The last time I went to the doctor, I found out that I'm like an inch shorter than I was in high school, so I got that going for me. Yeah. But so I'm short. And so like I'm not doing like platform or anything like that, or I'm not doing like the slip-in inserts, that make you taller or anything like that. But I would say like a super low profile. I do the Puma suede.
Yep.
I like those.
It's good look on you too, man.
But why, thank you.
Yeah. Do you have a Puma deal?
I mean,
yeah, right?
No, I have no Puma deal. Unfortunately. I don't know. Again, I don't know how interested in endorsing a drummer Puma is.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, you're not just a drummer. Let's take a step back, right? So, what people that may be watching, thank you. Now I can see everything. People that don't know us together. I mean, Tasha Jones, Steve Morrison, they know when you and I get together, it's like this all the time. It's so ADD, it's not even funny.
Oh, completely.
We could talk about 15,000 topics, but what people that might not know about you, if they hadn't, you've got a crazy history of music. There's a crazy long history of your sort of progression to get to where you're at right now. Everybody that
I like that term.
I mean,
I like that term, by the way. That's a
progression.
Yes, because a lot of the time, sorry to cut you off, Baba.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, people will ask me, or I frequently get asked, "When did you know you had made it?"
Yeah, right.
And my patented response is, I'll let you know should that ever happen.
Absolutely.
Because it never feels like, to me anyway,
yeah,
at no point does it feel like, oh, I've made it.
Right.
So it has been a progression, and one thing has led to the next, and it's been like this slow, like a slow fade.
Yep.
As opposed to like a high impact.
Yeah. Like overnight, you had your island in the Bahamas.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like the famous Sheryl Crow quote where she says, "It took me 13 years to become an overnight success."
Right. Yeah. That's the case for 99% of everybody out there.
True. But you were going somewhere. Sorry about that.
Well, no. Well, I don't want to even talk about questions that you've been asked a bunch before, because I know about your history, and it'd be fun to share with some people about how you got here. But what people may not know is about some of your other interests and some of your other exploits. And this whole idea behind these conversations that I'm having is, number one, catch up with my buddies. Right? I miss you, and if I can't come to LA and hang out again, this is the closest we get. And you're the funniest guy I know, so I want to share conversations that we have, with people.
Funny looking, maybe.
Smelling, but since we're not in the same room, it doesn't matter. So, but it's really cool you've got a huge bank of drummers that aspire to be you, and a lot of people that have looked up to you because they've seen you on TV. It's a different level, right? There are drummers that we've grown up watching on stage, and you get inspired and you think, oh my gosh, I want to go home and play drums. But a whole generation of people have watched you on TV over the last several years, and you're developing this huge network of people that only know you as a TV drummer. I mean, do you get asked about that a lot? Like about just this identity that you have?
It is interesting. Someone did once refer to me as the TV guy.
Yeah.
And I don't even really know, because I never did anything specific to be on TV. It just so happens that, in my experience, by the way, I need to preface everything that I say with this remark. When I teach lessons and someone asks me something and I'm sharing information, there is an unspoken, this is just my experience, right? There's an unspoken, this is my experience. So, Hey, Nate, how do you get faster single strokes? Why anyone would ask me that, I have no clue. But, I say, well, in my experience, this is what I did. You can do with it as you please. So I say all that to basically set up what I'm about to say, which is, in my experience, likes beget likes. In other words, something that you're doing will in all probability beget something like what you're doing, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're a guy or girl, if you're a musician,
thank you,
that tours a lot,
mm-hmm.
one tour is likely to lead to the next tour, to the next tour, to the next tour. If you're someone who does a lot of sessions, one session is likely to lead from the next session to the next session. So it just so happens that I found myself in this like little TV lane, and one TV show kind of led to another TV show, kind of led to another TV show, which is not to say that I didn't do tours and I haven't done sessions in and around that. Right. It's just to say that, I mean, again, a common question that I get asked is, how'd you get the gig on how'd you get the gig on The Voice?
Right.
And we can chat about that if you would like. But the thing that I start by saying is, it wasn't like the phone rang and like, hi, you're on The Voice now.
Right.
Boom.
Yeah.
It's more like a progression, to use your term.
Yep.
That started as far back as 2005.
Rockstar.
Right?
Rockstar.
Right. It was the first time that I played with Sasha Kristoff on bass and Paul Mirkovich. I played with Sasha before previously.
Right.
But it was the first time that we had played together as a unit. And then that unit is the same unit that went on to do several TV shows, work with Sharon Vegas, now on The Voice. So,
right.
So anyway, so that's my sort of long-winded response to being the TV guy, is I didn't really do anything. Like, I didn't come out of Berkeley like,
right.
I want to be the TV guy.
Right.
It's just my lane. There's nothing I did specific. Well, okay, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Part of why I've been involved in television productions is because a fairly broad span of, I mean, I hate to say knowledge, but a fairly broad span of sort of influences is kind of involved. So, for example, to do Rockstar, it was a very rock-oriented show. We played a lot of rock music, etc. But then that, following that was another show based around like sort of pop artists on MTV briefly called Rock the Cradle. Then there was a show, then the Bonnie Hunt show was, jazz.
Yeah.
Right? So when I was at Berkeley, when I was studying, my intention was I want to be able to play everything.
Yeah.
And, my philosophy was play everything all the time with everyone.
Okay. Was that because you wanted to be so ubiquitous and widely seen that everybody kind of knew your name and you're on everybody's radar? Or was
I was not aware that you were going to be using vocabulary words.
Oh, okay. All right.
Ubiquitous? I didn't know I needed to bring my...
Did you want to be on everybody's radar?
At the time, my heroes, drumming wise, included guys like Vinnie Colaiuta.
Right.
Included guys like Gad.
Yep.
Included guys like Omar Hakim.
Yeah.
And in my head and in reality, these are guys who can play anything.
Right.
Anything, right? As my son Miles would say when he was a kid, entertain. They can play entertain. And so I wanted to be that. I wanted to be able to play jazz and Latin and rock and funk and so on. And the interesting irony in that is that by virtue of wanting to do everything, at a school like Berkeley, it's very segmented. It's very like, these are the rock dudes, these are the jazz dudes, these are that. And it's interesting because by virtue of me wanting to do everything, I pretty much didn't belong to any group. Like I wasn't a hardcore jazzer enough to be in the jazzer hang. And, so for better or for worse though, it worked out. You know what I mean? And
you say better for worse. Did it bug you or was it actually kind of a cool thing? You weren't pigeonholed?
At the time, the feeling was I wasn't cool enough to hang out with the cool kids.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That was the feeling at the time.
Yeah.
In retrospect, I don't feel that way. I feel like I like the way things kind of went. You know what I mean? And things evolved over time, but again, I'm doing my best to try to circle back and at least finish on the same point that I start, no matter where I go from there. So TV, what I started to talk about was the fact that I didn't really do anything specific to be on TV.
Right.
However, I have to walk that back just slightly by virtue of saying, from my very earliest, I wanted to always be able to play a bunch of stuff. Yeah. So I wasn't trying to play a bunch of stuff to be on TV.
Right.
It just so happened that I was sort of training for it without knowing it.
It wasn't an intentional goal, but it was a byproduct of having sort of made yourself as widely available to the styles.
Correct,
I didn't.
Whether or not I should have. Like,
well, okay. I mean, had you not, it'd be a completely different outcome for you, probably, right?
True, but I just mean like I never said no. So, like for example, one of the first gigs that I got when I graduated college was playing with this band called the Search Party in Boston, and a lot of Search Party's music was calypso.
Wow.
But it's like I didn't go like, well, I've never really heard or listened to very much calypso, so I'm maybe not the guy. Right. I went, be right there.
Absolutely. You bet, man.
And I kind of just had to learn on the gig,
A bunch of fledgling drummers probably ask you, how do I prepare for a gig? When you talk about that, you say, okay, for a gig that you've never even listened to the style before. One thing I do know about you, you've got a really incredible style of jotting down this hieroglyphic chart and
algebra. My musical director.
The musical algebra.
Yeah.
And you've got this sort of computer in your brain that when you listen, I know this about you because we talked a little bit about the Miley Cyrus gig, right? You want to talk about having to pull off a gig? Let's talk about that story because this is one of those things where as a musician, you get a call last minute to be able to pull something off out of the air and do it fast. This is the perfect example of, Miley Cyrus as opposed to a calypso gig, completely different style, but again, the range. Tell me about how this thing happened for you.
this thing being my charting or this thing being that particular Miley Cyrus gig?
We'll get to the charting thing. I want to talk about the Miley Cyrus gig and being available on the last minute to pull off a gig that's an international tour, right? Or at least nationwide.
Well, in all honesty, I did not do an international tour with her, but it is kind of a funny story. So, and it's the coolest thing. It's the only time I've ever thought I was cool. Okay, this is the only time I've ever thought I was cool. Yes, ever.
Okay.
So I'm in the middle of a lesson. I'm teaching a young drum student, and they're there. The phone rings. And I ignore it, but it's like a number I don't know, and so whatever. Rings again. I go, all right. Sorry to my student. Sorry, let me grab this. Click. Hello. Right. With Miley Cyrus? Sure. Rehearsal when? Tomorrow. Gig is when? Oh, Friday? Like the day after tomorrow, right? Like 2 days later, right? And I'm like, okay, 22 songs? Right. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, see you tomorrow. All right, bye. And I turn back around, and my student is like,
wow.
And that was the only time, like literally in that one moment.
You got some cred. Because it was Miley Cyrus and because you got this call last minute to do something that was just like huge.
Completely.
Yeah, outside the Garridio.
Right, exactly. And the way that came about, so here's a funny, so the person who called me was Miley's musical director and still is. And he had broken his wrist playing softball. He's also her drummer. He's a cat named Stacey Jones. And Stacey, I mean, I can't say enough great things. You know Stacey?
I don't. Nope.
I can't say enough great things about Stacey. He's like, he's one of those people that you almost have to not like because they're just so nice and so good at their instrument and so cool. So it's almost just like, all right, dude, why, come on, man.
Yeah.
So Stacey calls me, like we have a later conversation about it more. And he says, okay, hey, it's Stacey again, blah, 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 blah. And I broke my wrist, and I'm Miley's drummer, and this is what we do. And at one point I go, Stacey, what's your last name? Stacey Jones. Where are you from? Well, I lived in Boston. Okay, is this the Stacey Jones who played in Letters to Cleo in Boston that I used to go out like religiously and go and see? Is this the Stacey Jones that played in the Tribulations reggae band in Boston that I used to go see? Yeah, it is. So it took, let's see, so that was 94, somewhere in there I was doing that. And then it was, I feel like 2005, so that's like a decade later.
Wow.
So come to find out, here's a cat that I've been going to hear when I was in Boston, and I was calling you on the phone. It's really spooky sometimes how those things happen.
But that happens more than people might think if you're really you pay attention and you network with people and you talk to people and you're good to people. Those coincidences happen all the time. Well, they're not coincidences, but the connections, because everybody knows somebody else, right? And when you ask about those, yeah.
So I'm watching. This is just random. This is just coming to mind
because we still haven't gotten the what you did for the gig. Remember, like
I got time. I got all day now.
All right, yeah, cool. Me too.
Another thing. So I'm watching a special on TV, and it's Chris Bodie, right? This is years ago. It's Chris Bodie, and there's a girl playing drums, and you and I both know there are not enough female musicians, period. Let alone enough female drummers, right?
Right. In the spotlight for sure.
There's not enough. There's not enough. So I'm watching this girl play drums with Chris Bodie, and she's killing.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it, and I'm like, who is this? Because a lot of the time, I'll be honest, because there are so few,
right?
You know who they are.
Yeah.
You know who, obviously Sheila E. and
you
know who Terry Lynn Carrington is, and you know these drummers. So Stephanie Eulenberg, and so I can't recognize her. And so then I watch the credits. I watch the thing to the end, and it rolls, and it says her name. And literally, this is no exaggeration. Literally the next day, I get a phone call. Hey, mate, my name's Kay, and I'm a drummer. I live in New York now, but I'm thinking about moving to LA. And my friend, I can't remember. I think it was Jason Langley, who's a bass player that I know. But my friend Jason gave me your number and said if I'm going to move out to LA, I should reach out to that bass. And so like the first thing in my head is I go like, great, like another drummer moving to LA.
Right.
that's all I need.
Right.
And so I'm talking a little while longer. She says, yeah, right now I'm playing with Chris Bodie, and so on and so forth. And I go, okay. And she goes, yeah. And I go, is that your given name? And she goes, no, my given name is Karen, but everyone calls me Kay. Like literally, I saw her the day before the video.
Wow.
I've never heard her in my life. I'm like, this girl's killing. And she calls me the next day. It was the weirdest.
Is it weird? Honestly, man, is there some universal thing that just kind of,
It's interesting.
I know.
It is interesting.
I would bet there are a million stories you have like that in your life, that things have sort of transpired and evolved, progressed into something that there's no explanation for it, right? I mean, my life is sort of like a David Lynch movie in a lot of ways, that in a cool and bizarre way, but so much cool stuff has happened for me.
Do you wake up in a prison cell and then, do you go to sleep in a prison cell and then wake up in an entirely different life?
It feels like it a lot of times. I feel like, I've been in a prison cell for a couple months, the quarantine, right? So it's like,
I referenced Lost Highway. That's too obscure, isn't it?
No, I remember the movie. And John Neff is a studio engineer who, I don't know if you know him. He lives here in Portland now, but I believe he did the soundtrack for that with David Lynch and also Twin Peaks, and he's
wow.
Yeah. So he was on yesterday, chiming in on my my podcast. He's probably here right now. So John, if you're here and you did Lost Highway, there you got another plug for your soundtrack. But anyway, I want to go back for a second again, like I do. We don't have to talk more about the Miley Cyrus thing. All I remember about that was that you, if I remember correctly, because you had super short amount of time to get this thing ready, didn't you drive over to Salt Lake for the first gig, listening to it so that you didn't have to waste time with like LAX? And I thought I remembered you saying something like that. Like
I don't think that happened.
Did I make it up?
I don't have the recollection of driving to Salt Lake. No,
okay.
Although the first gig was in Salt Lake. You are right about that.
For some reason, I thought you said something like, I didn't want to have to spend time with doing logistic stuff, and I thought it would be better to just drive.
I mean, that makes for a better story.
Yeah. All right.
So the movie adaptation of
right.
that experience with Miley Cyrus, that'll be the plot line.
This is just going to be the made-for-TV movie. Okay, so I just gave you a new plot line that works. Boom. Write it down, or you can go back and reference this later. TV drummer. That's how we first met. You started doing Rockstar in Excess.
Oh, it's Storm.
Well, yeah. So Rockstar in Excess, I saw you, freaked out. It was blown away by your drumming, right? And I remember, so Rockstar Supernova came out, and you had Storm Large as one of the contestants, who was one of the finalists there. Love Storm, and I wanted to go down and watch her play. And we had a gig down there with Animotion. Anyway, so I talked to Snake Man.
Oh, Mr. Walter.
About coming down and catching the show.
Long
time.
I haven't seen that dude in so long. I hope he's well.
Probably 10 years for me.
Yeah. And maybe more than that for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway,
sorry.
That's all right. He brought me into the show, and I said, man, I got to meet Nate Morton. I got to meet him. Brought me up to introduce me to you. We just had a brief hang. And that was the episode that Storm crowd surfed. She jumped out during doing Anything, the Dramarama song, and got to meet Delana for the first time, who I ended up playing with later on. And sweet Susie McNeil, dear friends of mine up in Toronto have been working with Susie for a long time. And I think Randy Cook, your local homie, right, was Susie's.
You're naming all the homies. Dude.
I know.
I bumped into Susie a couple of years ago when I was in New York doing some work. And on the same show, she was appearing with Steven Tyler's band.
Really?
So I had a wonderful and completely random reconnection with Susie McNeil.
Most people in the industry, I don't want to say most, but you have the connection that you make with people where after the first time they've hung out with you, they feel like you're their best friend. Truthfully, I mean, this happened with you and I, but everybody that I've introduced to you is like, oh my God, he's such a great dude. And it's not that I'm kissing your ass. You have this connection with people that makes people feel welcomed. And you talked about not feeling early on like you were one of the cool kids, But everybody that you've ever encountered that I've been with, you make them feel like they belong and they're just as valuable. And in this business, in LA especially, where you've been for quite a while, as you know, it's kind of a catty, competitive business, and there's a lot of posturing. And I never see that with you. You know, we've gone out and we've seen cats play, and when they ask you to get up, you've got this ability to get up there and completely own it, super confident without being arrogant and cocky the way these other guys might be.
Okay, so I have so many things. I'm sorry to jump in, but I have so many things to say about this. Number one, well, a couple of things in particular. Number one, well, you know what? I really only have one thing to say about this, which is I'm a strong believer in the premise that you get what you give. So that goes both ways. So in other words, I believe that you get what you give. Therefore, I don't always succeed, but I try to be a fairly positive person. I try to be a fairly, well, that's the best word I can think of. I try to be a very positive person. That said, it's reciprocal. So like if we had met and I was like, hey, Kev, how's it going, man? And you were like a jerk.
Yeah.
Then I would be like, oh, you're a jerk.
Yeah. Right.
So you get what you give, man. It goes both ways.
Well, I appreciate that. I think humility is a big part of kind of what I'm touching on. And, you know, you're showing it by your shirt, right? When you know, I mean,
just being honest, bro.
Well, when you and I go out, and we go on these tangents talking about drummers.
What?
And
what?
I know.
Wait, what? Tangents?
Couple of years ago, when I brought Caleb down, right? We went to the NAMM show, and you were so gracious to bring us into the A&M studios, right? We were there at Henson.
Yeah.
And you guys we were tracking for the studio, it was for The Voice. You guys were doing those sessions. And I know you remember this. Caleb was in Instagram mode, right? So he's checking his Instagram. I'm watching these guys engineer. You guys are in the studio. And if it's cool for me to talk about that process that you guys had.
I don't know. You haven't gotten anything bad yet.
Okay. Well, no. All right. So one big studio, no isolated booths. You guys were all in this open room where you just had blankets set up on the side of your kit. So there was a little bit of sound protection, but I remember so that you could face each other, right? So you had Paul as the MD, right, in the middle playing, and you and Sasha was there. Trying to remember all the guys that were there.
Yeah, the whole voice band would have been.
Yeah, okay.
Sasha, Paul, Eric, myself, Dave, and Justin. Or
Justin.
Depending on who it would have been, it would have been Dave or Dory or Justin. It would have been two of those three guys.
Justin was there for sure, yeah. But you guys were doing these tracks. You'd had a list of songs that you had to record. You already had a vocal track, right, for the artist. And then, if I remember correctly, you do a take, and then Paul would say, "All right, we're going to do just a revision of this take a little bit. We'll drop this section. We'll add this section here. Boom, count it in again." And you guys would just do another take in a different variation that was maybe stylistically a little different. No rehearsal. You guys were just like vamping and going for it. And you did like 3 takes, if I remember right. And they would do, I mean, I don't know. It just seemed like there were 30 seconds in between you guys just making that decision. You'd track it. Then the engineer would mix it down, send it next door. They do the mastering.
Vocal on it.
Yeah. And then boom, it's a header, like iTunes. It just seemed like it was this assembly line of crazy recording. I'd never seen anything so meticulous and well done. And that says a lot about not only the band, but also the engineer and the producers, like everybody that's doing the stuff. But I was blown away. I was freaking out because it was like watching magic being done. And Caleb wasn't, he just hadn't seen enough of the studio stuff. So it wasn't as magical to him. So he's on his Instagram and, he's kind of like not realizing where he's at that point. And you came in, you said, "So you're a drummer, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." He said, "In your favorite band, I heard, you really like Rush." And he goes, "Yep, that's all there is." And you said,
that's right.
And
he was in Rush mode then.
Yep.
Right.
And you said, and he said, "Yeah, Neil Peart is God. He's the only one." And you go, okay.
Oh no, what did I say?
You said, "Have you ever heard of a guy named Vinny Colaiuta?" And he goes, yeah. My dad always talks about him. And you go, "Well, there's a reason for that." And so you guys finished the session, and you said, "Come out to my car for a second." And we went out to the Subi. And you had this hard drive that we went through of all these obscure Vinny songs that I'd never heard, live stuff and
probably
stuff.
Like that live Charisma recording with him and oh man, who's on it now? Him and Landau and Dave Garfield.
Right.
And the bass player's name is failing me right now. I can picture him and I can't think of his name right now. But yes. That's one of my favorite go-to, like, holy check out Vinny.
Right. Here, hold my beer. That was one of those kind of moments where Caleb then looked at me and he's like, wow, yeah, I mean, chops. But then at the end of that, he said, but let me hear Vinny's lyrics. And I go, oh, okay. Yeah. And I was proud of him because I was such a music guy and not a lyrical guy. The lyrics are the last thing I listen to, right? It's the last thing I even pay attention to. And
I don't even realize songs have lyrics most of the time.
That's well, you know.
Sometimes I work with a vocalist. This is a horrible thing to say. I hear the melody,
right?
But I'm not paying attention to what the words are. So it's funny when I hear, like, when we'll work with a contestant and they'll say, "Oh yeah, you know what? Take it from the part where I say, breath is light in the air," and I'm like, I don't know where you say that. I didn't know the song had lyrics.
Yeah, that doesn't go into the musical algebra. That's not part of the equation.
Tell me verse, pre-chorus,
right.
bridge. Don't tell me the lines of the song.
Did you say if they knew musical algebra, they could tell you in that part, right? But where did the origin of that come from? Your charting stuff, just having to do it on the fly.
I mean, okay. So when the show, it really kind of started and became progressively more and more refined when we started doing the voice. I had done little things before, but the voice, and it basically came about because of the sheer volume of music. All the other guys in the band that are reading notes and have to worry about harmony, all those guys are reading charts. And so literally, you know, of all the different songs, all the different times that we would do them, maybe it's a 1 minute 50-second version, or it's a 3.5 minute version, or it's anywhere in between. There's different charts for every one of those. All the guys, literally at one point, we had a road case full of all the books of charts, books of charts on top of charts on top of charts. And it was the task of someone in our musical department. Like, so let's say we've gotten to the point where we've played, I mean, blind auditions. Like the earlier seasons of the blind auditions, we would have anywhere between 120 and 140 songs to prepare. So all the guys have books. So maybe we're doing 20 of those songs in a day, or 18 of those songs in a day. It would be the job of someone in our department to go through the entire bass catalog of all the songs and pull out those 20 and put them in a smaller binder for that day at work.
Wow.
And so I saw that coming, like, early on, like when we did blind auditions.
Yeah.
And there's, you know, we got a book like this, the first round of blind auditions for the show, 140 charts. And it's like 7 phone books thick.
Oh my God.
And so I was just like, this is not going to work for me. Yeah. I was like, this is not going to work. Flipping pages. And plus, you see me, like, I'm not trying to, like, be turning pages. And
yeah.
So essentially it just started very, very, very simplistically, where I would just essentially write the initial of the section and the number of bars that I'm doing that section. And it became a thing that I could do on my laptop because I could just literally, I'm typing it into Stickies, like the app, Stickies app on my laptop. So, you know, intro is I, verse is V, chorus is C, bridge is B, solo is S, drive is D. Interlude, I used to write INT because I wanted to differentiate it from the intro.
Right.
Re-intro, RI.
Okay.
And then however many number of bars that was. Now, obviously, because I don't have charts, like, I'm not looking at the drum groove transcribed.
Yeah.
So because of that, I have to have at least a vague familiarity with what the song does, right? But I benefit from the fact that we're playing, you know, primarily Western music. So everything, you know, 99% of it's in 4/4. There's not a ton of odd meters. There's not a ton of unison licks. If the phone rings tomorrow and it's the Yellow Jackets, my system won't work.
Right. That's a different algebraic equation entirely. Yeah.
I'll need more than just A section, B section, C section. See you later.
Right.
I'll need more than that. But for Western music, you know, and as a drummer playing what we're playing, maybe it's 4 on the floor for the backbeat, or it's going to be boom, bap, boom, boom, bap, or it's going to be boom, bap, boom, boom, bap, or some variation. Like I just covered 75% of what we did on the show.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it gets trickier. It gets trickier when you're talking about having to notate a rhythm. There's a kick on the end of 4 on bar 8. Or if I do need a hint about what the groove is without being able to write the actual groove, maybe I'll write in parentheses MTWN. MTWN. That's Motown.
Oh.
So what's Motown? Motown. You know, so it's a.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So maybe it's Motown because I'm playing Ain't Too Proud to Beg. Or maybe I just want to know that it's that groove. It could be a rock song.
Yeah.
But if it goes to 4 on the stair, I know if I write MTWN, Motown. Okay, cool. You know, if I say to you, well, to me, this is how I think of it. If I say Coldplay, like what does that mean? Okay, the first time I ever heard Coldplay, the song was Clocks.
Oh yeah.
Be-do-do, be-do-do, be-do, be-do-do, be-do-do, be-do.
Yeah.
That's Coldplay to me.
Sure.
So that groove, God bless that drummer, man. Like, I actually don't know his name, but how, like, the coolest thing in the world to me would be if something musically that I ever did was associated with my name.
Right.
Like, that would be the coolest thing. Sorry, my camera's falling down.
Yeah.
That would be the coolest thing in the world. Like, so whenever someone says something like, give me like a Kenny Aronoff kind of lick here.
Right.
Like a Kenny Aronoff kind of groove.
Right.
What?
Right. Yeah. So
what?
Play the Nate Morton version of that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
okay. So that dude, you know, give me the Coldplay groove. That groove, the first time I heard it, I don't know if you had this experience or not, but the first time I heard that groove, it was unlike anything else. I'm diverging, but I'll bring it back.
That's okay.
But the first time I heard that groove, I never heard that on the radio. Like, I had no idea what was going on. Like,
sure.
You can't hear my foot, but so after that, you hear that groove happen all the time.
Right.
It's in all kinds of songs.
Yep.
Right. So that's a notation for me. If I write Coldplay, if I write CP, that's that groove. If I write CP Toms, then I'm.
You know, that's interesting because honestly, that notation really can only work for you. I mean, this musical algebra can, you know, because
I beg to differ.
Well, okay.
You would use different references.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I mean, I was going to say, like, if I read Coldplay, I'm thinking Yellow, right? I wouldn't, and I think somebody else that might come in, their interpretation, the first time they heard a song, especially if it's a classic rock song, you know, if you said Stones, right? People are thinking of 10 different Rolling Stones songs. But if it's, you know, you talked about Motown, where there's a particular genre, right? I mean, or particular subculture, you know, a subgenre, then I could see it. But if you were to give me your charts and say, hey man, I need, you know, I broke my wrist, I need you to come and sub for me at The Voice, I would probably choke. Paul Mirkovich would kick me off the stage, and that
wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen. But yes, I do see your point, because I've had this discussion before with other people. It is somewhat specific to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is. I mean, it's, and I really mean somewhat. It's somewhat specific to me. But that is not to say it would be useless to anyone else. Like I think that, like I said, it's like I'm trying to think. You know, it's kind of like. Okay, we just got a giant playset, a giant jungle gym that my wife found that someone was basically giving away out of their storage place. And then they gave us the manual with it as well. But then they showed pictures of how it was set up in their yard, and the pictures of how it used to be set up in their yard didn't exactly match the manual.
Okay.
And the reason is because the manual is a rough blueprint, but leaves room for variation.
Gotcha.
So I could show you things about the way that I chart, or I could show you what my charts look like. And there's a certain structure that you would go, oh, that makes sense. Like, for example, the initials for all the sections and the number of bars. And where I write things denotes, like, whether it happens at the beginning of a phrase or the middle of a phrase, or the way that I use pluses and dashes to either say, oh, I'm adding to this section, or to say, oh, this is a different section. All those things could still apply.
Sure, you bet.
It gets more personal when you have to write things like, if the, you know, you're not going to get to hear me really.
There we go.
So the groove, you can't hear my foot, but the groove
because it's the slipper. That's why.
Yeah, right. I should have brought a pedal over here.
It's okay. I bet I can get a reference here.
So the groove is.
Yeah.
Right. What's that?
It's a little funky. Yep. Yeah.
Right, so if that's the groove or something like that, I can write JB.
Yeah. Nice.
Now, maybe that's not what you associate that groove with.
It wouldn't be Justin Bieber, but it might be Jennifer Batten, right? So, yeah. It probably wouldn't. Yeah. No, but you're right, though. I mean, and yeah, I mean, like, the reason I thought I might like get choked off the stage, you've worked with Paul for so long, right? That everything I watch you guys do is second nature. And, you know, I've talked to you about this. I mean, the only time that I've really got to watch you guys work together on the show is when you brought Caleb and I back to watch the taping, right? Where you guys were back there and you were doing those rehearsals, and it's so fluid, man. It's amazing that there's an intuition that you guys have from having done so.
I describe it as we are several terminals working off the same mainframe.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
In terms of our brains.
Yeah.
There are times when, I mean, and this is not unique to us. Like, we're not like, we're geniuses.
Yeah.
But it does come from having played literally thousands of songs, thousands of songs. And so there's an extent to where we can predict what the other player's going to do. You know what I mean? So you're playing the groove, and here comes the verse or the chorus. You just feel like it should be like boom, 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 clap, boom, bang. Yeah. It's not in the song.
Yep.
But if I did that, I guarantee you Sasha would know exactly where I was going, and the whole band would break on three.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Do you guys finish each other's sentences too?
Might as well.
Yeah.
Musically, yes.
That is.
But yeah, there's a certain. I mean, I don't think you can just make it happen. Like, I think that it's something that occurs over the course of the same group of guys. It's kind of like in the movies when, like, a guy and a girl who've never met go through some traumatic experience of the plot of the movie, and at the end they're in love. Of course.
Like that.
When you go through, like, so us as a band, we've gone through this traumatic experience.
Yes, you have.
And we're like this close.
Yeah.
You know?
God. You know.
Isn't that funny how that happens?
I love that. That analogy is perfect, man. Because
it's true.
Well,
you know?
It's a relationship, you know, and you guys, there's a ton of respect you guys have for each other. I could totally see that when I see you working.
Outwardly, we project that.
Man, you know, you joke. No, you joke. But I remember watching you at Soundcheck at the Share gig at Caesars, man. Like, what was it, like 10 years ago, right? And
because we're going. Our next season will be season 19, and we're doing 2 cycles a year, so it would be.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. That there was so much about watching you at that Soundcheck. Actually, should talk about that gig too. That's funny. I hadn't told that story to too many people, but Soundcheck was amazing. Watching you guys work together was phenomenal. I just remembered that you hooked Dan Pred and I up for his it was his bachelor party. Everybody goes to Vegas to a bachelor party to go see Cher, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no, we went down to go watch you play, and you had us sitting up in the lighting booth, and I remember that she came out for her intro of Where the Streets Have No Name for about 12 minutes. It was a very long intro, and then she started talking to her rabid fans, which was a great thing. She developed a rapport.
Fair monologue, yes.
But it was about a half an hour, it seemed like, right? It was long enough that I waited, and I thought, okay, this is my buddy's bachelor party. I'm kind of feeling bad that, you know, she's a talented cat and a gal, but we came there to watch you play, and this is going on for a while. So I texted you. I said, hey, dude, how long is this monologue going to go? Boom. Instantly, you text me back. you're on stage at this massive drum set with this huge, you had this, you had electronic stuff everywhere and this massive cage, but instantly you text me back and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get him fired. I'm like, he's not supposed to be on stage texting, but you had a workstation right there where you had your little phone and you said, okay, yeah, it's going to go about 3 more minutes in the monologue and then we're going to jump into this next thing. And I'm, oh, okay. And so you give me a play-by-play of the set.
Cher was literally, well, I mean, I knew Cher's music.
Yeah.
But I didn't know the Sonny and Cher show, and I didn't know the extent of her acting and her character portrayals in Sonny and Cher and different things she did. So the show, out of that 90-minute show, was split about 50-50 because it was like a variety show.
Right.
So there was a lot of times we were playing music, but then there were things where it was like a Silks would do like just the Silks thing to some track or something, or there was a movie montage that would play of her works, or there was the monologue, or there was a skit that she used to do with herself. She did a skit where she talked to herself on screen. It was like her in a character on screen, and then she was talking to herself. So, I mean, it was a real variety show. It is one of the most fun. That was one of the most fun gigs.
And she was good. She was good to you too. I remember you saying she was really a.
I mean, she was just very. I have been very, very, very fortunate. Very fortunate to have worked with, some legends.
Yeah.
Some icons, and I have to say, of the icons that I've experienced working with, compared to the non-icons, the icons are always so down to earth.
Yeah.
The people who have given me the hardest time on gigs are the people who have done the least. And, I mean, that's not a entirely catch-all generalization.
Right.
It's like Paul Stanley, sweetest dude, like nicest dude.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, Paul Stanley knows he's Paul Stanley. Like he's very self-aware. He's very, but isn't a diva in any stretch. Isn't I don't even know. I mean,
well, you know divas. I do know that.
No, we both know divas. We both know divas.
Yes, we do.
And let's leave it at that.
Right. Yeah. But Paul Stanley was he was real.
Natalie Cole.
Oh,
amazing.
Dude.
I remember one time we were having dinner, Natalie Cole and the band, and we were in Japan or something like that. And we're just all sitting around the table. It's like Natalie and the band. And she starts to tell this story, and she goes, right, and so I was doing so-and-so, and then Daddy came in, and Daddy said, girl, and I was like, oh my God, that's right.
Right, your dad. Oh.
Daddy. I was like,
right.
Wow, that's what I'm sitting with right now.
Right. God. You had a pretty legendary Natalie Cole story too. Remember you told Caleb, I asked you, what was the most incredible gig you ever did? Remember, and I remember you saying, "What, like an arena gig or something?" But you said there was one that stood out because nobody gets this opportunity.
The White House.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, this is actually a funny story. So at the time, so my now ex-wife, but at the time my wife, had this friend named Bernard, and Bernard's a cool dude. He's a cool dude. But Bernard was the coach at this particular school where my wife worked. And like I said, he and my wife are friends. And so at one point she said, he's like, oh, what's your husband do? Oh, he's a drummer. And Bernard tells this story far better than I do. I wish he were here right now to tell the story. But
that's part 2. We'll get on.
Yeah, yeah. So she says, oh, he's a drummer. And Bernard says, oh, really? And in Bernard's head, he's thinking, lives in his mom's garage.
Yeah.
And dear Bernard, so I was doing a gig, and my then wife, Patricia, says to Bernard, oh, Nate's going to be on PBS tonight. You should tune in. And Bernard goes, okay. And again, still he's like PBS, it's going to be like some public access.
You're right, local channel.
Yeah. And Bernard goes, yeah. So, pretty much I'm thinking, loser.
Yeah. Right.
So anyway, yes, he tunes in, and it's an evening at the White House with Natalie Cole. And I was like, that was a funny time.
And you played for George Bush.
Anyway,
President Bush Sr., right?
That was Junior.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yes, that was
all right.
Junior. Yeah, that was Junior.
Okay. Right on.
But yeah, that was a funny time.
Man, you've earned some cred. Before, because I was going to touch on base on a couple of other things, but there were some questions that people had here, and Caleb corralled some questions. Yeah.
By the way, do you got to be here? Like, I mean, I'm sorry I'm taking up your whole afternoon.
No, what's cool? When I started doing this conversation piece, it's not a formal interview, right? I mean, it's just you and I rapping. Yes. You and I are very similar to a lot of people in that our attention spans only last about 15 minutes. So anybody may have dropped off, a long time ago. So they may not still be here, but for me, this is selfish and I love hanging out and talking. So we can wrap. But I was going to ask you, because a couple people left questions. Caleb grabbed a couple for me. So I'm going to ask, there was something from Jim Jelvig in the UK.
Are you going to censor these? Or if there are questions like, why do you have this idiot on, Kevin?
Yeah.
Are you going to announce that live?
No.
Or are you going to censor it?
I might, actually. No censor. All right. So, Caleb, what does he say?
Who is this bozo? Me.
Judges' chairs. Tell me about that. Tell me more about that.
Oh, the picture of you, me?
No.
Oh.
Yeah. Me and you.
Okay, yeah. Somebody wanted to know about how Caleb and I got an opportunity to go hang out at the Voice in those chairs, right? So that was all because of you.
Well, you were my guest at the show that day.
Right. Yeah, and so it made it look like we were judges on the show. And we at that point, who were the judges like 2 years ago? I think you had.
You know what? Built into the design of the show is a rotating cast of coaches.
Right.
And so if I'm honest, I would have to think about it. It could have been Pharrell.
Yeah, I know.
It could have been.
It was Adam for sure.
It was Adam and Blake for sure.
Yep. And
it could have been Alicia Keys.
Or
it could have been Miley Cyrus. Or it could have been. I think Jennifer Hudson was a while back.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't Jennifer.
Wasn't Demi?
No.
I don't remember.
No, not Demi Lovato. No. And that was Mr. Stefani. Now, anyway, so yeah, Blake Shelton. Yeah. All right. Couple questions more.
All right. So Dan Miles says, let's see the Nate versus Kevin drum battle.
Oh yeah. Dan Miles, our buddy Dan Miles, man.
What did he say?
He said he wants to see the Nate and Kevin drum battle, which is never going to happen because Dan should know that when Nate and I go into a room, there's only one person that's playing drums. That's yeah. Oh my God.
What is that? What are you talking about?
Well, yeah. What I would do is I'll give you the James Brown and let you go over the top. Cause I remember going to, what was the Backstage Cafe? Dave Scholes was hosting a jam in Hollywood or in LA. And we went down there. You sat in playing Superstition with Dave. And I think Tal Bergman was playing drums most of the night, but you jumped up just to do Superstition. And what's his name on guitar? It doesn't matter. But
well, hold on. Was it okay? So it was Tal's gig. It wasn't my gig because I used to do that gig with a band that included Nigel Williams and Ian Martin on bass. Yeah.
Oh man,
and Andrew Dorsett, I think, on keys.
I never got to see that one. This was you and I just dropping in, and Schultz just said, "Hey man, you're here."
Yeah, Tal was playing, and who else was playing?
Yeah, I was trying to think of. Why can't I think of his name? Guitarist's been around forever. Played with Macaulay Schenker Group and
played with who?
Macaulay Schenker Group. He played with Delana for a while. Oh my gosh, why can't I think? People are probably chiming in right now and saying something. It'll come to me. Don't worry about it. But I just remember.
Yeah, what happened?
Well, you just jumped up and it was ridiculous to watch how fast you picked up the pocket of this groove. It was insane. Well, it doesn't matter because I'm brain farting about it. But what you did was you took a song that was all about the groove and you made it feel so good. When I've read Paul Mirkovich talking about you playing, your gig on the show, I quoted this, I think in the promo for this, that you make every song feel like it's the greatest song in the world. And you do that every time you play. It's like
it's nice of you to say, and it's nice of you to say, and I enjoy hearing that. but it doesn't feel that way to me. Like, I don't sit down and play and just go like, oh yeah, my pocket is so good. Like, it doesn't feel like that to me. I feel like I can hear every single imperfection, every single, like, that's why Sasha and I play so well together, because basically Sasha's tone and his pocket is so round and so beautiful that it helps mask all of my drumming imperfections. Well, I think it does. Maybe I'm kidding myself. Maybe it doesn't at all. But yeah, no, I hear every little imperfection. And during this last little round of The Voice, I've been recording in here. I recorded, the live shows we had to do virtually.
Yeah.
And so I recorded the drums in here. So there's nothing like regularly recording yourself and looking at your drum tracks in Pro Tools and seeing the grid.
Yeah.
The grid doesn't lie.
Right.
The grid is a truth teller. And I'm like, oh man, I didn't realize I was rushing that. I like you're that much on top. You're that much behind. The one thing I'll say is this. The one thing that I'll say in terms of, and I'm actually being dead serious, like Pro Tools, I remember when Pro Tools kind of came on the scene and then you literally could look and see how much ahead or behind the click you were. I'm rarely on the click, but wherever I am on the click is usually consistent.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So if it's a tune where I'm particularly kind of on top, I'm kind of consistently on top. If it's a tune where I'm kind of consistently behind the grid, I'm kind of consistently behind it. And I would love to say I do that on purpose, but I really don't. It's just something that feels different to me.
That's authentic. I mean, honestly, that's what it's all about. That's why it feels so good, because it's real. It sounds human, right? And but it's not. Man, there were a handful of drummers that, as I was growing up, that I gravitated towards because they just felt so good. Sean Pelton, when he would do Saturday Night Live, and there was something about his playing, the swampy kind of Nolans vibe thing that he had, that it wasn't meticulous and on the grid,
right.
But I would try to think.
Carlock has that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God,
that's not like the most beautiful sense of pocket.
Yeah.
Ever. You know what I'm saying?
There's a reason he's doing Steely Dan gigs, right?
Correct. Correct.
But so not being meticulously on the grid, but having a good sense of feel, so rare, man, for a musician. And so you don't have to feel like, yeah, man, I'm rocking, but you look like you're feeling it so much. Not only you smiling, but you've got a swagger when you're playing. It's really, I love it, dude. That's why you're on TV, man.
It's funny because I don't consider myself to be, like I said, like a time merchant or a pocket merchant necessarily. But I do have that thing where I can hear something, like I can hear drums playing and be like, this sounds pretty good. Who is this guy? Oh, that's you. Ah, man, that sucks.
Oh, yeah. Thank goodness you're that way, man. Thank goodness, That's what.
Yeah. How about this, Kev? As long as we're actually finally talking about music, musicians, and drumming. How about the thing? I mean, it's not the new thing, but it's a thing that people are sort of like hyper extending now. The thing where people are like playing in between straight and swung, or like they're playing like the hi-hat straight and they're playing the snare swung, or the other way around, or the kick drum. Like,
Ringo.
It's so funny.
Ringo.
But true.
I didn't know that about him until I really started studying. Sorry to interrupt you, but that was
there are extremes. They're like Ringo is subtle about it. Yeah. There are extremes. There's this band called Hiatus Coyote. Have you heard of them?
No.
Oh, you should check them out.
Okay.
I don't know what the most recent thing is that they've done, but I mean they've been around a while. But yeah, they'll do that thing where it's like, I'm gonna send you some stuff. If anybody is interested, check out Hiatus Coyote because they do some fun things at the time. There's a drummer. He's not in that band, but he's another drummer. This young kid, JD Beck.
Okay.
He does some crazy, real cool like stuff. Where like, because if you just play in between, it's not always apparent that you're playing in between because nothing's being measured against it.
Right.
So they'll create these grooves where, like I said, like the hi-hat is chipping straight.
Yeah.
But they're playing the hi-hat swung.
Nice. Right? Yeah.
And so I can't get away with it on The Voice. Whatever I do, Paul's just like, stop playing that crap.
Wrong place, wrong time. But you did. You would vamp on that stuff with the Bonnie Hunt gig. I remember, on outtakes.
Bonnie would have been an easier context to do some of that stuff in because that was definitely a more jazz-oriented, very few rules. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to say pretty much no rules. I mean, I was playing. Nicholas Pike was the musical director in that band, and the first season that we did it, Reggie Hamilton, whom I call him Mr. The Legend. We were doing a rehearsal for Bonnie Hunt at SIR, and he and I were just like hanging out, you know, whatever, outside, and a kid walks up to him and goes, "Hey, oh my God, you're that guy, Mr. The Legend." And then that was it. He's Mr. The Legend. Mr. The Legend. So Reggie Hamilton, Mr. The Legend, was playing, and then Cheche Alera was playing keys. And these are like super accomplished, like so much facility. And so that was a very fearless band.
Yeah.
Like, because, I mean, you know what I'm saying, right? Like sometimes you can be playing with folks and you know, like, okay, I can't get too crazy because if I get too crazy, I'm going to lose that person. I'm going to lose that person. But with that band, I can do anything. We could be playing straight ahead and I can totally start playing a country groove and no one will bat an eye.
Yeah.
And they'll be playing country groove, you know?
Wow. Yeah.
I'll tell you a really quick funny story. Am I allowed to say a bad word?
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you sure?
Oh yeah. Like I don't think it's not made for kids, but this is real life. We're all quarantined, man. It's all good.
Okay. So I'm playing, and this is in Boston. This is back in my just out of college days. And I'm playing in this group called the Bruce Bartlett Trio. And the Bruce Bartlett Trio, Bruce is a guitar player, burning guitar player. And the bass player is Baron Brown, who more recently played with like Steps Ahead and Steve Smith solo projects and so on. Earlier on, played with like just major. So they're vamping. I take a solo. And at some point, I don't know exactly how it occurred, but at some point there was a, shall we say, discrepancy on where there was a lack of unification in where one was anymore.
Right.
And so
sometimes referred to as a train wreck, but
it was not a train wreck.
All right.
We found our way. Oh yeah,
but you could feel it going off though. Like people were going,
it was
the pucker moment.
Break, yes. And so on the set break, I go to the two of them and I go, dudes, I'm sorry. I'm not sure what happened. I didn't mean to like, you know, throw anybody off or whatever. Baron Brown looks at me and he puts his finger in my chest and he goes, "You're not going to lose me, little motherfucker. I played with Cobham."
that is awesome.
I love it.
Oh my God.
You're not going to lose me, little motherfucker. I played with Cobham. So yes, and that is the truth. He played with Billy Cobham, you know?
Oh my God.
I don't know what got me on that tangent. I guess it was about time and
well, I mean, this is like if you think about your experience having gone from Berkeley, you know, we all know a bunch of people that have gone to like music schools like MI and Berkeley and, you know, Juilliard and
no comparison, by the way.
I know, but
you know how I feel about Berkeley.
I do.
Berkeley's the place.
Yeah,
there's no other place.
We had that conversation because when Caleb wanted to go to Musicians Institute, we talked
said,
about it.
No!
Actually, well, what you did was you were really diplomatic about it. You didn't sour him on it, but then what you did was you wrote this incredible letter of recommendation for my son that could have gotten him elected president. It was so. I've hung on to the letter because I'm going to use it for something of my own, I think, at some point. But what Caleb wanted to do is move to LA, right? He wants to be in it. And
hey, I'm so sorry, Kev. Before we get too far afield, I'm so sorry. Sorry. I should apologize on behalf of myself about MI. I just think that Berkeley is a better institution. There are plenty of outstanding instructors and plenty of outstanding students who have come out of MI. And so I need to retract.
Well, what you can do is you can just identify you just fell into the path of all the other snarky, pretentious Berkeley grads that said that they're better than everybody else, and that's okay, right? So,
well, like I said way back when.
Yeah.
Just my experience.
Yeah. Right.
There you go. My experience.
Yeah.
Is that Berkeley is a stronger institution than MI.
You should not at all feel bad about saying some of that. I mean, you've worked really hard, right? And you look at the pedigree of people that have come out of that institution, right? And
I just turned off like your whole MI demographic.
Doesn't matter.
Your whole MI demographic.
Do I have one? No. Out. You know, it's a different thing entirely, right? I mean, like Los Angeles is very aesthetic and image driven versus actually being meticulous and science driven, which is Berkeley is. I really see the science of music being a big part of that. Right?
It's just their different style of education.
Sure.
I won't bore I won't bore the listenership with you know, the details of it, but it's just a different style of education.
There are a million interviews of you out there talking about your Berkeley experience and what your expectations were in the business. We don't even have to go into any of that. I love talking to you about, you know, just what life changed for you. Like you said that you didn't really plan for TV when you moved to LA. Did you have contacts? Did you know people out there?
Funniest thing, anyone who's ever moved to a new city can probably relate to this in terms of being a drummer anyway, or a musician. So when you live not in LA, this is my experience again. I would have people go like, you know, oh man, I wish you were here. I would have called you for so-and-so.
Right.
Oh man, so-and-so just put together a tour. If you were here.
Oh, right.
And then you're like, okay, you move out here and you're here and it's like crickets.
Silence. Oh, yeah.
It's like the thing where like when you have a girlfriend, you think every other girl wants you.
Right.
And when you don't, they're gone.
Oh.
And you're just like, what happened?
I'm leaving that comment alone.
My experience was moving out to LA. You know, I did have. I'll say this. This is how I'll put it. I did have friends here. I did call, you know, all of them, and I did, you know, I did do that. But my experience again, was that ultimately I had to make my own way. I had to find, so the first calls that I got to do gigs didn't come from people I knew before I moved out here. They came from people that I met once I got out here.
You did the hustle.
And again, I don't know if that's a unique experience or not. I mean, I've only led my life, so I don't know what everyone else has experienced.
Well, sure you do. I mean, you know what other people have told you, right? There are other experiences that people come out and they've said, oh yeah, so-and-so referred me for the gig. And there are clicks in any place, right? And there are recommendations that get made. But because it kind of can, you know, you talk about really not fitting into a particular group in Berkeley, you know? So you get to LA and even though you had friends out there, you didn't naturally just fall into a gig. You had to make it happen.
So I love Reggie Hamilton.
Yeah. Mr. the Legend, yes.
But yes, when I first moved out, Reggie is so awesome, but he's also very, very dry. He has a very dry sense of humor. And so I called him when I first got him. Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's Barrett and Brown.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, sorry. Yep. All right.
But no, so Reggie, I called him up and I was like, hey, Reggie, what's going on, man? He's like, hey. I was like, dude, are you busy? He goes, yeah.
Good answer.
Oh, okay, cool. And then I go, well, I just wanted to let you know, I recorded the new, this tells you how long ago this was. I said I recorded a new demo CD of myself. So it's like 20 years ago where you'd actually mail a demo CD to someone. I said I got a new demo CD of myself. I was going to send it to you. And he goes, why? I know what you sound like.
Oh my God. Wow.
Like, okay, cool. And it's funny because, again, that's 20 years ago. Yeah. And so I didn't know Reggie like nearly as well now as I do now. And we weren't, we had not done gigs together. I knew Reggie at that point because he had traveled through Boston playing with Bette Midler. And the Bette Midler band, after a gig, came into this club called Wally's, which is a pretty legendary spot there in Boston. It's like a proving ground. Yeah. Where all the Berkeley students go and play and they, whatever.
Baked potato.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But slightly different than the baked potato by virtue of the fact that the audience at the baked potato is excited to hear the performers at the baked potato, whereas at Wally's, the audience at the baked potato all believe they know more about music than the performers.
This is at Wally's.
This is at Wally's.
Yeah, you gotcha.
It's the kind of place where you play.
Wow.
It's like the kind of place where you play and people go, all right, what?
Yeah, right.
What? Exactly. Yeah. Exactly, right?
Wow. All right, yeah. So Reggie came through with Bette's band.
And that's where I met him. And and then I moved to LA shortly thereafter, or I don't know how shortly thereafter, but somewhere thereafter. And that was my first basically trying to reconnect with him. We've since gone on to become friends. In fact, I actually owe him a phone call.
This is the reminder.
This is it.
Well, you wonder if he was that dry and it's just kind of saying, dude, if you want me to make a recommendation, just come out and say it. Instead of just saying, you're going to send me a demo CD.
Well, no. He was just being honest though.
Yeah.
He was literally being honest. He was literally just being honest. I know what you sound like.
Yeah.
I don't need to send me a CD.
Right.
Like,
God, like,
what? You know, and it's like I have a lot of respect for people like that. I have a lot of respect
cut and dry.
who will just be honest.
Yeah, man.
Not bullshit you. Like,
Yeah.
if you're not going to listen to it anyway, don't be like, yeah, man, send it to me, and then like throw it straight in the trash.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Which I've known. I used to work at a hotel. I'm not going to say who this person was, but I used to work at a hotel, and a well-known musician came through playing with a well-known artist, and I worked at the hotel, and as a like a bellman, right? So I'm helping get luggage.
Is this in LA?
This is in Maryland. This is
before Berkeley. Okay, gotcha.
Right, this is before Berkeley. And so I said to the person, I was just about to transfer to Berkeley.
Okay.
I was in Maryland. I was just about to transfer to Berkeley, like the following whatever. Anyway, I say to this person, I'm going to move out to LA. I'm going to Berkeley. I'm excited. I'm going to move to LA. Can I give you my card? And they were like, yeah, give it, man. Yeah, let's hook up. Bro, here, shoot, do it. Well, as the bellman of the hotel, it was also my job to go through and find out who hadn't checked out of their rooms. So I'm the person who goes, not housekeeping, but
yeah,
there you go. Walk in the room of that particular musician. My card in the trash. And so,
oh no!
I was heartbroken.
Man, out him. You can out him right here, man. That's worthy of outing. Now you're good about not burning the bridge, man. But you were talking about the proving ground, man. I was just thinking about. Well, but essentially, like having to prove yourself, right? You walk into Wally's and you're going to play a gig. You got to own your stuff. You go to LA, you show up and you don't really have any contacts to get you the gigs. And so you're out there networking, shaking hands, probably sitting in, playing whatever gig you can. And the cool thing about what you've done is that you developed a reputation that there's a ton of respect for you, not only because you're playing, but because of your demeanor. And Caleb and I talk about this a lot. My friends that are there that I really trust and respect a lot have been the kind of people that the hang is as important as their musicianship. And, because ultimately, Caleb, that night that we had talked right behind the studio, he talked about Buddy Rich. He said, well, what about Buddy Rich? Because you're talking about Vinny. And because we had said the hang is every bit as important as your musicianship, right? And he said, well, what about Buddy Rich? And he was an asshole and he had a gig. And I said, he had his gig, right? He's he's a band leader. He had his own band, and his legacy was that, he is probably the fastest hands in the world and greatest, one of the greatest jazz drummers of all time, and also the biggest asshole. That's his legacy, right? And it's not me saying it. That's just what people referred to him as. And I told Caleb, it's, if that's okay with you, right, to be known as that guy, but you can't go to LA and be that guy, right? Because you can't.
Players.
Yeah. And
too many players. Like, in other words, I don't have to deal with you being a jerk because there's 15 other guys who can do your gig and they're not jerks.
Right.
And especially, that is especially the case if you talk about touring.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, you're living on a bus with somebody for 4 months?
Yeah.
And they're an a-hole?
Right. Not going to happen.
No.
Yep. Yeah.
No. Not in LA.
Right.
Not
LA. Hopefully not anywhere. Eventually, that can kind of carry around. But I think you're right.
I used to say, I hate to say this, and I have friends who live in New York, and they're great musicians and they're great people. But again, just in my experience, a little bit more of that, a little bit more of that is tolerated in New York.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like if you're like a burning shredder player in New York, you can be an a-hole and still work.
Yeah.
I just felt like, I don't know why I feel like that. And I'm not saying that, my friends are, I just know that I've worked with people like, wow, okay. Yeah. Whereas out in LA, we're much more like, hey man, it's got to be a cool hang. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's part of Cali though too.
I feel like that's part of the attitude of both cities also.
Yeah.
Like,
right. That's true.
Much like we're going to chew you up and spit you out if you can't hang.
That's a culture.
LA is like, dude, it's 85 and sunny. Let's go to the beach.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, that's why Caleb wants to be there for sure. I get it.
That's why I'm here.
Well, can't blame it.
I'm here because when I graduated college, I had there were 3.5 places. There was Nashville,
Yeah.
There was New York City, there was LA, and then at the time, Atlanta had like this scene on the rise, right? So I didn't really trust that I was going to be able to work in Atlanta. I didn't see that scene drawing me enough. I didn't want to play a bunch of country music at the time.
Right.
Now I probably play more country music than
well,
guys who live in Nashville.
And actually Nashville is so rock and roll as well, right? So that it's not, but anyway.
And bands that are country are basically, a lot of them are, and I don't say this with any like bad connotation, just from playing on the show, it's basically rock bands with a fiddle and like a pedal steel.
And a hat.
And a hat. Exactly.
Yeah, right, yeah.
A lot more contemporary now. But at the time, I didn't want to play a lot of country. I didn't want to, I didn't believe in the Atlanta scene, and I didn't want to freeze my butt off. So New York was out. Right. And I wasn't a diehard jazzer.
Yeah.
And I basically thought to myself, if I'm going to go somewhere and starve for my art, it might as well be somewhere where it's 75 and sunny every day.
Amen. Yeah. I get it.
That was literally it.
I get it. Yeah.
Man,
it makes sense, man. And you took sort of elements from all those other places with you, which is really cool. Stylistically you did. And I would bet that that's another reason that you fit in so well with the session guys, because you didn't bring the typical LA vibe with you, when I say that, there are a lot of cats out there that I think by the time you moved out there, it was like 20 years ago, right?
20 years ago.
Yeah. So everybody that was getting the session gigs, it was always Aronoff, right? I know Josh Freese was getting a ton of the session gigs for recording. Vinny, of course, was like, first call for everything, but it's diversified. Right. Yeah. Right. Kurt. Yeah. Of course.
Kurt D, man. He did a lot of sessions.
But there are a handful. Now it's wider, a little more diverse, right? Where more guys are getting different gigs because studios are more prevalent in smaller spaces. And I think there are more transplants there, it's not just like, but I was just thinking about this evolution for you, this progression, if you will, because you brought your voice with you that all these other gigs you were doing, you didn't get to express your own stuff. You came out with Playground Philosophy. You had the Duty Bug record, right? And that had a ton of different influences, right? You got to express your hip hop kind of vibe, and you had the rock stuff and some cool funk stuff. And reggae. Exactly, man. And then it was a really cool departure because that came out just after I met you. I forgot to give props to Mike Vaughn because he was the real pairing. It wasn't Snake Man. Snake introduced me to you, but after I went home and I hit your website, I said, dude, it was cool to meet you, man. I want to hang. Next time we're in LA, I would love to get to meet you. Don't know if you're doing lessons or anything like that. And I got a response back immediately with a Portland phone number. I'm like, what's this all about? And Mike Vaughn was managing your contacts at that point. And I think he had done your website. And so he hit me up and he goes, dude, Nate's a great dude. And I said, are you here in Portland? This is bizarre that you're right here in my town. And he said, yep, Nate's super down to earth. I told him I just got to meet you at the Voice. And so he hooked us up. And from that point forward,
you got to meet us at Rockstar, you mean?
I'm sorry. What? Oh yeah, it's at the Voice. Yeah. Yeah. Rockstar. That was Supernova era. But after that, it was when he just said, yep, here, you guys connect and paired us up. And now you become like one of my favorite people on the planet. As we've shared, dude, we've shared a lot of late night cries and laughs. And I've had more laughs with you than anybody I can even think of, man, which is awesome. But I was thinking about this Voice and the expression that you've done, for yourself, because there's this new record that you came out with this year that blows my mind. I don't know how this thing can be together, but the Fraud Prophets record, start to finish, is one of the greatest records. Dude, that honestly, and I'm not kissing your ass. I got it because you're my homie. And then I listened to it and I thought, how can any musician not fall in love with the record? Dude, start to finish, everything. Moths and Mosquitoes, right? And The Climb. Oh my God, man. So tell me about this partnership, because the Fraud Prophets thing has to have a long history. I mean, how did you guys know each other?
Sean and I know each other because we met not too long after I moved to LA. I crossed paths with a very, 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 very heavy session guitar player here named Michael Thompson. And so anyone who's not familiar with Michael Thompson, if you've ever heard a record produced by Babyface, Mutt Lange, David Foster,
wow,
any of those people, then you've heard
really,
Mike Thompson.
my
You've heard
God.
MT.
Right.
Because he was on a tear there where he was like, you know, he would have been
got
on, because all those artists would have had, all of those producers would have had records in like the top, you know, 20 at certain points. Like
Wow.
at a certain point, each one of them would have been in the top 20, and Michael would have been on all of the records, right?
Wow, nice gig.
So Michael, how did we meet? So he played on a record for an artist named Javier Colon.
Okay.
And at one point, I was playing with Javier Colon. We did a gig at, I feel like it was at the Congo Room here in LA. And Michael was in the audience. And Michael came up to me, and I knew him, you know, by reputation. I knew, you know, who he was. And he said, hey, you know, Michael, I played on the record, you know, MT. And I'm like, dude, yeah. MT, like I know.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, this is, you know, I don't give MT enough credit, I think. But so he said to me, we got to do a gig together. I love your playing. He had heard me that night with Hop. I love your playing. We got to do a gig together. Okay, how many times have people come up to you and said that exact thing and then crickets? Like you never hear from them.
Yeah,
You know?
right.
So in my head, as he's saying it, I'm going, yeah, right, sure.
Click.
You're gonna call me, right? You can call Bissonette. You can call Vinny. You can call JR. You're gonna call me?
Right.
Cut to, that was a Tuesday. Thursday, phone rings. Nate, it's MT. I got a gig for us. What?
Wow.
So I did a gig, maybe a couple with Michael, and he shortly thereafter was doing a record of his own material for a record called MT Speaks.
Okay.
And Sean was working on that record. Sean was engineering that record and working with Michael on it, and that's how I met. That's how we met. And so then Sean is a genius in his own. So Sean, this is so funny. I'm just spilling my.
No, I love it. That's what we do.
But so Sean, literally, so in my contacts, right? You have categories: bass, drums, keys, family, friends.
The legend.
The legend, right? I have a category called genius.
Oh.
So the category is reserved only for geniuses.
Right.
There's exactly one entry in that category.
Nice.
I created the category genius just to put him in it because he is. So, and here's what I mean. We all know a lot of people who are burning players on one instrument.
Right.
We probably know a lot of people who are burning players on multiple instruments. We probably know a lot of people who are really good songwriters. We probably know a lot of people who are really good at the technical side of recording, super Pro Tools knowledge, wizards like that.
Yeah.
I only know one person who does all those things, and it's Sean.
Wow.
He sings, he songwrites, he plays guitar amazingly, he plays bass amazingly, he plays keys.
Wow.
But also knows the technical side and can. And he said that friends often refer to him as tech support to the world.
That's.
You can be sitting with him like once. So you can be sitting with Sean, and again, you know, the phone rings, and it's Sean. Hello, this is Sean. I'm role playing Sean.
I gotcha.
Hello. Oh, hey mom, the dryer's not working. What is it? Maytag? Okay, look inside the door. Is it a model 460 or a model 480? The 480? Right. So turn it around and like it's literally that. Like, he knows all the stuff. And so I call him.
I want his phone number, please.
Dude, I'm gonna tie. By the way, I have to tie Michael and Sean together with what's going on The Voice. And,
okay.
And, you know,
cool.
I'll bring it around. So, but Sean, Sean, I always call him with questions, and he has yet to not know the answer. Like he's also the same guy. He's also the same guy who, like, in a conversation, he'll Dennis Miller you. Like, in other words, he'll make a reference that's so obscure that you're just like, what? So you're talking like, and he'll go, man, you like rock stars? Yeah, I like rock stars. Yeah, you know, it's almost like in the Byzantine Empire, they had something in the 14th century that they used to drink for the, and you're like, the heck? So yeah, he'll totally Dennis Miller you. But and I always tell him, I always go, dude, I'm sorry that I'm so annoying with all these questions, but the way you get me to stop asking questions is by stop knowing the answers.
Yeah, right.
Like, once you know the answers, I'm going to keep calling you.
Right.
So I'm going to put a button on this. So that's how I met MT and how I met Sean, right? So now you know how I met MT, and now you know how I met Sean through MT. the rehearsals that Michael and I did for, watch this. This is going to be, watch how I bring this home right now.
Okay, I'm buckling up.
Buckle up.
All right.
So the gigs that I did with Michael, we rehearsed in my, what was then garage of the home that I lived in. And basically I had gotten, like a, what do they call it? A remnant, like of carpet remnant.
Yeah.
And just kind of covered the floor carpet. I had a drum set in one corner, and I had like a TV and my computer in another corner. It was basically just my little guy hang. So that's where what do they call them? Man cave. It was my man cave.
That's right.
And sorry, my mind went back to a comedian who said in the old days, he goes, you know what my dad's man cave was? The whole house.
Yeah. Your domain. That's right.
Not that way anymore for me.
That's true.
My kids, the whole house, and my wife. But I digress. So we did rehearsals in this little man cave, and MT said to me, you're not necessarily going to buy your house in Malibu, but you should really turn this place into a room where you can record your drums, because there'll always be a stream of work. That's what he said. He said, you're not going to buy a house in Malibu, but there'll always be a stream of work. And this is coming from a guy who was at the time like a studio legend, still is.
Yeah, right.
But he saw where it was going. He saw that like those big $2,000, $3,000 a day studios were like bringing it in for a landing. So that was MT.
Okay.
20 odd years ago. And I met Sean, the knower of the answer of all things. Pro Tools expert, microphones, placement, engineering, keyboard shortcuts. So basically meeting Michael and having him say, build a drum room. And then through Michael meeting Sean and having him say, here's how you do all the technical stuff. Wow. Led to this.
No kidding. Wow.
Led to why when my musical director Paul called me a couple of months back now and said, hey Nate, this whole pandemic thing is kind of crazy. Are you able to record drums at your house? And I went, I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
And had that not started, had the genesis of MT and Sean and myself not started 20 years ago, I wouldn't have necessarily had the skill set to do this. If I had to learn.
Yeah. Right now. Right. In the last 2 months. Right.
Even if I had to like find a room. What if I didn't have a room? Right. So first as drummers, like if you're a guitar player, you plug into a pod, or not even, you plug into an interface, you find, effects in the I'm motioning, you can't see this. I've done it now.
Yeah.
My laptop is sitting just here beside me. And I keep motioning to it. But, you find effects in the box, you're good. Bass player, same thing, right?
Yep.
Drums, you have to have a room where you can be loud and make a lot of noise. And you got to have enough mics and inputs and a knowledge of how to place mics and a knowledge of how to do it. Anyway, I guess I'm just saying that, again, if you wanted to circle back to the idea that certain things fall in place certain ways, the fact that happened then made what I just spent the last, couple of months doing possible.
I do want to just briefly touch on that about what the voice has had to evolve into, but this partnering with Sean, the Fraud Profits thing.
Sorry, I was so
no, it's okay, because I want people to know about how that thing evolved and what to expect from them, because this is a great group, right?
Well, I'll tell you about Sean really again. So that record, I say jokingly, but I basically bullied Sean into doing it.
Really?
Because I had this unspoken, I love him. He's my best friend. I love him. Love him. But I was mad that pretty much only me and a small handful of people knew that he was a genius.
Yeah.
And so there was always this like thing, and I was just like, dude, like when are you gonna do a record, man? Like it's really messed up that people don't know how awesome you are.
Yeah.
So it was definitely that. So, one night we were, here jamming, and we started recording things, and those things formed, the album. Formed
Just the two of you. That Poptosis record, man. And so you collaborated, you co-wrote that. A lot of it sounds like it evolved and sort of out of improvisation,
It did. Oh, 100%. 100%. And the thing that it has in common with Playground Philosophy, which, by the way, in between I did a record with a friend named Kenwood Anderson, which was also a great project as well. But The thing about Playground Philosophy and the Fraud Profits record, Poptosis, is the commonality is that there were no boundaries.
Yeah.
The reason that Playground Philosophy is all over the place,
yeah,
is because I literally was like, I don't care. I'm gonna write a reggae song about this. I'm gonna write a hip hop song about eating desserts,
ice cream. Yeah,
you know what I mean. And so this record was that way with Sean, in the sense that it was like, okay, Sean, you know, I'm gonna play a country groove. What are you gonna do now?
Right.
You know, and so as a result, each song is kind of its own journey.
Yeah.
Like each song starts somewhere and kind of goes somewhere else, and maybe it comes back to where it started, or maybe it just like goes into space when it ends. You know, but it goes somewhere. Everything goes somewhere, and it has its own journey. So
it's the the perfect road trip album. Yeah. It really is, man. Yeah. Well,
I call it. By the way, I don't know if you want to put a link up or anything like that, but I have a link up if anyone's interested in you know, finding out more about that record. It's a really great record, and the shame is we had our first gig booked April 10th, so we were literally just starting to rehearse. We were just starting to rehearse to get ready for the gig when, you know.
Where was the gig?
The zombie apocalypse. The Mint in LA. In LA. Yep. We were literally like week to week as we're starting to put the songs together, kind of like watching things slowly fall apart. And then it was like, okay, I don't know if it was like this in Portland or not, but in LA, it was like, okay, no gatherings of 200 people or more. So we're like, all right, we're good. 200 people are coming out to hear us. Then it became like 100. Then it became 50. Then it became done. And all the places closed. And then that was that. So hopefully, if and when things get going again, we'll be able to get that to happen.
You know, you guys are better suited than most bands by being able to have home studio where you could actually, it's not that you could do maybe a live performance. That's the trickiest thing, right? About doing, and this will pair into what we're going to talk about, is having a synchronized live performance where there's no latency, there's no worry about, you know, sort of technology becoming a hiccup. But because it's you two, Sean playing all those instruments, multi-track recording, and having him, you know, do your Brady Bunch windows where he's playing 18 different instruments, you know, but you could actually put a live, not a live show, but a recording out of you guys performing these songs so that you get a visual representation of what the record's like, right?
You know what? And that's not a crazy idea. I'll mention it to him. You know, that's not a crazy idea.
I don't get any points from that. It's cool. It's just...
We've both been very busy. Sean has sort of like a marketing, like he works in the marketing department for like a guitar. What is he doing now?
Maytag?
No, for Blue. I think he works for Blue. I think he's at Blue Microphones now.
There we go. These right here.
Oh, yeah. Is it? Oh, yeah. Okay, there you go.
Sorry. Anyway, go ahead.
And so he's been busy doing that. And then I've been busy, obviously, doing this recording. But now that we both have, now that I have some time, maybe we can.
Well,
we'll see. We'll have to see.
Well, speaking of you being busy, let's talk about The Voice. What's happened with that? I mean, how are you pulling out? Because the show's still going.
Well, we just wrapped.
Okay, yeah, it was still going, right? A week and a half ago?
Yeah, finale was Tuesday.
Oh, God. Okay, like 3 days, 4 days ago. Wow, okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Anyway.
Sorry. And so, So, I mean, well, that's when the whole thing came down that we would be recording and working at our houses. In fact, I haven't posted it yet. I'm in the process of doing it, but I'm making a little video about the gear that's here and what I recorded it on and how I, you know, accomplished doing that.
Yeah, you don't have to give away all the goods then to this.
No.
But
that's nothing fancy. Just a little gear rundown and what I'm using, and you know.
Speaking of gear, too, you got a beautiful Pearl drum set behind you. You've been
There's a beautiful Pearl drum set behind
me. Yeah, you want to give a shout out to your boys in Pearl?
I love my boys at Pearl.
Yeah.
In fact, not just Pearl, but I mean, I'm very fortunate to have professional and personal relationships with like a lot of great companies.
Yeah.
Pearl,
Zildjian.
Remo, Zildjian, Roland. Yeah. And then other companies that make, you know, sort of accessories for things as well. What you're doing the eyebrows. Your eyebrows are going to school.
Well, I was thinking, this is the time where you get to plug your pimp your company.
Well, it's always dangerous because it's funny enough. and again, when I look at my life, I definitely realize how blessed I am. Let's flash back really quick second. Also in Bette Midler's band, along with Reggie Hamilton, was Lenny Castro. Okay, so Lenny Castro. So I'm, gobsmacked. My eyes are this big. Sonny Emery as well.
Oh my God! Wow.
Lenny Castro, Sonny Emery, and Reggie. And so they're at Wally's. They're there for that night, and then they're leaving the next day. And I say, "Can I come over and maybe have breakfast with you guys before you leave?" They say, "Okay."
Nice.
I meet them in the hotel. We have breakfast. Lenny Castro says, because they're all like decked out. Like Sonny Emery is wearing like his like beautiful like leather like bomber jacket from like the Paula Abdul tour. He's got a big picture of her on the side, and on one big sleeve in bold letters it says Sonny.
Oh God!
Like it's like, and I'm like, they're like, oh. And Lenny Castro said, "Man, don't worry about that. One day you'll have so many company affiliations, you'll be tripping over stuff." And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "You'll have so much swag." That was he said, "You'll have so much swag, you'll be tripping over stuff."
Yeah.
And at that time, no part of me went like, "Yeah, you're right. I will." I was definitely like,
"Nope." Yeah.
Sure, right. So my only point is now, when I do think about the companies that I'm with, it is kind of funny to me, and I chuckle because there are a fair few that I'm very, very fortunate to. Frankie Parisi, who created this drum key. I'm going to show it to you.
Yeah.
So Frankie created this drum key, which is now made by Gibraltar, but it's this thing, and it's called a wing key.
Okay.
So, wing key. So this is the drum key.
Yep.
This is the wrench that fits conga.
Oh, yeah.
These 4 prongs, like I don't have anything handy. I'm becoming a commercial. It's like an infomercial right now.
It's all right.
It fits. Like wing key, like wing keys when people like crank the
hi-hat. Yeah.
Or whatever. This fits.
Oh, look at that. Yeah.
Nut,
so you can get the torque on there.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this thing is brilliant. So Frankie, Wing Key is a company that I'm with,
nice.
Or that I, where they endorsed me. Jeff Kelly, are you familiar with the Kelly shoe?
No.
The Kelly shoe is that horseshoe that you see mounted inside of kit drums. And
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep.
So that's Jeff's invention.
Okay.
So I'm with Kelly, Kelly shoe. My buddy Ed Evelyn. This is like,
I love it.
I'm going to forget someone.
Well, you probably will, but that's okay because you can link them up in the page.
Ed Evelyn makes this.
Okay.
Practice pad.
All right.
Like the best pad in the world. Thank you, Ed Evelyn. Man, I'm going to get like, this is just terrible.
You don't get to do this on The Voice. You don't get to pimp out your wear, so this is fun.
Are you familiar with Big Fat Snare Drum?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm with Big Fat Snare Drum as well.
Awesome.
This is bad. Oh, and I cannot forget Sennheiser.
Oh, there you go. Very good. Nice.
Headphones. And okay, maybe that's it. I'm so afraid.
If they're
everybody angry, like email, like, dude, you mentioned every single company, but.
Well, we can add them later. I love doing this because you and I both know we've got a bunch of our homies that are watching this that may be interested in some of that gear. So, I mean, the Wing Key is a great invention.
It's the awesomest thing ever. Yeah. And like, I'm totally nerding out right now because I want to go and grab a piece of gear and show you how rad it is. But I'll spare you. But yeah, no, the Wing Key is great. Hold on 1 second. I'm just gonna look at my kit and see if I'm forgetting something. Oh, Simpad. So. I don't have them handy.
That's right. This is the quick release.
This is Simpad, and it's like a synthetic felt. They last longer than felts.
Okay.
And they come in really cool colors.
Nice.
And Rito at Simpad is my buddy, and so there. I think that's everything.
Now, well, if there are more, we can add them later in post. Now, I love it, man. That was the important part, at least, to make sure that your people are known, they're taken care of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, this is nothing that I ever would have assumed. Like, well, yeah, of course I've got all this company stuff.
Yeah.
Like every day that my eyes pop open, I'm just like, dude, really? This is my life. Like, I get to do this.
Yeah.
talking to Reggie on the
hold on a second. I'm going to tell people this. If you're going to listen to any other part of the interview, this is the thing to listen to. Okay. Because every musician that's out there that has had to complain about the gig or being on the road, listen to what Nate's going to tell you right here. Cause I use this
right.
all the time. All right, here we go. Right, let's hear it, Nate.
I'm in Vegas. I do a lot of phone. I need a prop phone.
Yeah.
I'm in Vegas. I'm talking to Reggie Hamilton, Mr. Legend, on the phone. And at one point in the conversation, I go, hey, Reggie, man, listen, I got to run because I have to go downstairs and head over to Caesars to play with Cher. Right. And he goes, no, you get to go downstairs and head over to Caesars and play with Cher. Yeah. And so I literally carry that thought, no matter what the experience. Yeah. So there are points, and this is no exaggeration. This is 100% hashtag truth.
Yeah.
I love it when I do that to my kids because they always make fun of me because I sound so stupid and old.
Quirky parent talking about hashtags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like there are points in the season under normal circumstances where we have very long days. Those days might start at 9 or 10 in the morning, and they might end with us finishing tracking at Henson at 2 a.m., right? 1 a.m. And even in those situations, I remind myself, you get to be here tracking at Henson at 1 a.m. I also remind myself that when I was at Berkeley, I would go and do jam sessions with my buddies for free, where we've booked out a rehearsal room from midnight to 4 a.m.
Yep.
I'm there midnight to 4 a.m. playing, having fun, right?
Get to, yeah.
So I remind myself of that. I get to do that. I get to do it. So every day that I wake up, I realize that I'm very fortunate to get to do the things that I did.
That's what I want to get to with all of my days, man. I think this is a beautiful way to wrap up this conversation, Nate, because I think a lot of people get caught up in the current state of affairs, right? What's going on globally, and with economic situations being so uncertain. The things that I find are the blessings that I have by being able to be around my kids, getting to be with my boys right now. It may drive them nuts to be around their dad all the time, but as they're older, I get this opportunity where maybe they're forced to be with me, but it's a pretty amazing experience, right? And it's allowed me an opportunity to get to reconnect with all these people that there was never time for it before. You know, I get to be forced home without, this distraction.
If you have the ability, hug the people closest to you.
Amen.
As often as you can.
Yeah.
Because it is a fleeting opportunity.
Right now, for sure. Especially, we recognize it more than ever, right?
I hug my kids so much, and they hate it. And I tell them, this will be meaningful to you.
Absolutely.
And same with my wife. Hug the people closest to you, man, as much as you can. So.
That point, just really, man, just gratitude is the one thing that I really feel like it's important for me to recognize. And it's obvious. It's been a focal point of yours, recognizing that you get to do all these opportunities, which ultimately are doing what you love, but there's a mundane and challenging and stressful, portion of it as well. But the fact that your perspective was one of gratitude is really key, right? Because it keeps it healthy. You're healthy.
Hey, man.
Keeps you charged towards positivity.
And I'm no angel. No angel. I won't say I haven't ever thought to myself, man, this gig sucks.
Of course.
Whatever. But I do. I try.
Yeah.
Perfection is a moving target. You can never be perfect. You know what I'm saying?
It's progression, man. It's a progress, right?
Try your best.
That's the trajectory. I love it. I love your humility. I love your gratitude. And I truly do love you, brother. You are like, man, you're somebody that means a lot to me for all sorts of reasons, on and off camera,
Get what you get, Kev.
Yeah.
What you get.
Thank you, man. Let's plan a part 2 sometime where we can get you and Sean together. Let's do some fraud profit conversation. Really, not too often we get to hang with a genius and the legend, and so I just think what you've done with what you're given is pretty remarkable. Right now, being there at home, and we didn't even have to touch on the voice stuff that much. I think people can tune in the next season and see how this evolves. But it'll be interesting to see, right, how things change. And
You better believe that people are shouting orders into telephones at this very moment.
Yep.
Trying to figure out how it's going to go down.
Man, it's neat that people, they talk about pivot being such an overused word right now, but you guys did, here goes the Rockstar endorsement right here. But it's cool to see, man. I think the next time that you guys collectively chat, which I know you do a lot, please give Paul and Sasha my best, man, and Justin, great humans that I like a lot. And I think Sasha, people that are close to him realize too, he's an incredible artist, man. I mean, to check out this creative brain that he has, it's mind blowing. Really, he is a gifted mofo, not only musically, but his art is and photography. My God, man, his guy's just got, he's got it all. But so tell them all hi. Please give Nicole a real squeeze. All of your kiddos, just. I'm glad to see you, man.
I was wondering if anybody was going to come in, but I realized that I locked the door. So no one's been able to come in. I thought you might get a guest appearance by one of the kids or something, but I actually locked the door.
That'd be fun, man. Well, next time, like I said, part 2. Thank you for spending the afternoon with me, man. I miss you.
Same.
Same. God, we'll do it again, but just when you get an opportunity, I'm going to be archiving this, putting it up on a YouTube channel, and also on the All Access Live Facebook page. And I'll get your endorsement links in. I really want to point people towards that Fraud Profits record. I think that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, and it's unfortunate too, like the timing. Yeah. I mean, to be complaining about not being able to play a gig with your band is okay. Let me back up. All I mean is to say, I was about to say, oh man, this is horrible timing because, we were going to do a gig. But I know that there are a lot of people who have it very hard.
For sure.
And I know that, us complaining because our one gig at the Mint got canceled is a blip compared to a lot of things that a lot of other people are going through, musicians and otherwise.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good perspective. I'm glad you keep it in check,
hopefully,
but
hopefully we'll make our way out the other end of this all, healthy and the better for it.
I believe it. Yeah, man. Well, thank you for the positivity. Thank you for the perspective gainer. We get to catch up next time, right?
We do.
Awesome. Thank you so much, pal. I love you.
My
I'll
pleasure.
talk to you soon.
All right. See you, Kevin.